You know what people say about graveyards? That they're peaceful, quiet, that the dead don't bother anyone. Yeah, that's what they tell you when they hire you for night security. It's just a cemetery. Nothing ever happens. Just walk the grounds. Check the gates. Make sure no one's vandalizing. Easy job. Easy. Right. That's what I thought too. That's what I believed for the first 2 weeks. Before I started noticing things. Before I realized that cemeteries aren't quiet at all. They're full of sounds, full of movement, full of things that shouldn't be moving. Things that shouldn't be making sounds. Things that definitely shouldn't be watching you from behind weathered headstones with eyes that catch your flashlight beam and reflect it back. My name's Daniel, and I was a night security guard at Green Lawn Cemetery in Charleston, South Carolina. Historic cemetery. Established 1852. Over 15,000 graves. Some of them famous. Some of them forgotten. All of them occupied. Or so I thought. Because I'm starting to understand that some of those graves, they're not holding what was buried there. They're holding something else. Something that moved in after. Something that's still there. Still waiting. Still watching everyone who walks those paths at night. I took the job in October. Perfect timing, right? Halloween season. The cemetery needed extra security. Vandalism. Teenagers. Ghost hunters. People who thought it was fun to hang out in a graveyard after dark. My shift was 10 p.m. to 6 a.m. 8 hours, 5 nights a week. The pay was decent. Better than my last warehouse job. And it was easy. Or seemed easy. Walk the grounds every hour. Check the perimeter fence. Make sure the gates were locked. Document anything unusual. Most nights, nothing happened. Just me and my flashlight and the endless rows of headstones. Silent. Still. Exactly what a cemetery should be. Until it wasn't. The grounds were massive. 35 acres. Divided into sections. The old section dated back to the 1850s. Massive obelisks. Marble angels. Family mausoleums. Ornate. Beautiful. Expensive. The new section was more modern. Simple flat markers. Easier to maintain. Less character, but more practical. My rounds took about 45 minutes. I'd start at the main gate, walk the perimeter, cut through the old section, check the maintenance building, circle back, same route, same pattern, every hour. By the third night, I could do it with my eyes closed, which was good because some sections I really didn't want to look at too closely. The first weird thing happened during my second week, around 2 a.m. I was walking through the old section, my flashlight cutting through the darkness, illuminating headstones, creating shadows, normal cemetery atmosphere. Then I heard it, singing, faint, distant, coming from somewhere ahead. A woman's voice, soft, melodic, singing something I didn't recognize, old, like a hymn or lullaby. I stopped, listened. The singing continued. Never getting louder, never getting closer. Just there, floating through the graves. I called out, "Hello? Cemetery's closed. You need to leave." The singing stopped. Immediate silence. I waited. Nothing. I moved forward, checking between the headstones, behind the mausoleums, looking for whoever had been singing. No one. The section was empty. Completely empty. Just graves and monuments and darkness. I wrote it off. Sound carries weird at night. Maybe someone on the street outside. Maybe a car radio. Maybe nothing. But 3 nights later, I heard it again. Same time. 2 a.m. Same song. Same voice. Same distant quality. Like it was coming from everywhere and nowhere. This time I tried to track it. Followed the sound. Through the old section. Past the angel statues, past the obelisks. The singing led me deeper, to the oldest part, the section they didn't maintain as well, where the stones were crumbling, where the dates went back to the 1850s and 1860s, where the ground was uneven, sunken in places, where roots had pushed up through graves and disturbed the earth. The singing was loudest here, right in front of me, but I still couldn't see anyone. I swept my flashlight across the area. Headstones, trees, shadows, nothing moving, nothing alive. The singing stopped again, but this time, I heard something else. Breathing, heavy, labored, coming from my left. I turned. My light landed on a grave. The headstone read, Margaret Allen, 1834-1862. Beloved mother, rest in peace. The dirt in front of the stone was disturbed, fresh, like something had been digging, like something had been moving the earth, and I could see handprints in the dirt, small, delicate, like a woman's hands, leading away from the grave, toward the trees, toward the darkness. I backed away, quickly. This was wrong. This was impossible. Graves don't disturb themselves. Dead people don't leave handprints. I radioed the main office, the overnight dispatcher. Hey, I've got some disturbed earth in the old section. Looks like animal activity. Maybe vandalism. Can you make a note for the groundskeepers? Static. Then a bored voice. Sure, Daniel. What section? I gave the location. Hung up. Tried to calm down. It was nothing. Animals. Foxes. Raccoons. They dig. They disturb graves. It happens. The handprints were just coincidence. Pareidolia. My brain finding patterns, finding meaning, finding fear, but I started noticing more. Every night. Small things. Headstones that faced different directions than I remembered. Flowers that appeared on graves that hadn't had flowers the night before. Objects. Toys. Coins. Appearing on children's graves, like someone was leaving offerings. But the gates were locked. The fence was intact. No one could get in. No one was getting in. Except maybe they were already in. Maybe they never left. Maybe some visitors to Greenlawn Cemetery. They stay. Permanently. The mausoleums were the worst. The old ones. The family crypts. Marble buildings. Heavy doors. Locked. Sealed. Some for over a century. I had to check them during my rounds. Make sure the doors were secure. Make sure no one had broken in. But every time I approached one, I felt watched. Felt eyes on me. Felt presence. Like someone was inside. Looking out through the cracks. Through the gaps in the old stone. Breathing. Waiting. Wanting. One night I found a door open. The Hartwell Mausoleum. Built 1873. Door was supposed to be locked. Sealed with a chain and padlock. But the chain was on the ground. Broken. Not cut. Not picked. Broken. Like something had pulled it apart from the inside. The door was open maybe 6 inches. Darkness beyond. I should have called it in. Should have radioed for backup. For police. For someone. But I didn't. I needed to look. Needed to see. Needed to know. I pushed the door open wider. Shined my flashlight inside. The mausoleum was small. Maybe 10 by 10 feet. Shelves on the walls. Stone shelves. Holding coffins. 6 of them. Stacked. Family members. Hartwells. All dead for over 100 years. All supposedly resting. But the dust on the floor, it was disturbed. Footprints. Bare footprints. Leading from one of the coffin shelves to the door. To where I was standing. Fresh prints. Recent prints. I looked at the shelf. The coffin that the prints led from. Its lid was askew. Shifted. Like someone had pushed it open from inside. Like someone had climbed out. I heard breathing behind me. Close. Right behind me. Hot breath on the back of my neck. I spun around. Nothing. Empty space. Empty graveyard. Empty night. But I could still feel it. Still feel the presence. Still feel eyes watching. I ran. Out of the mausoleum. Away from the old section. Back toward the main gate. Back toward the light. Back toward the security office. My heart hammering. My mind racing. This wasn't real. Couldn't be real. Dead people don't leave their graves, don't open their coffins, don't breathe on living people, don't exist. But something was in that mausoleum, something that left footprints, something that broke a chain, something that wanted out. I checked the security cameras the next morning. The cemetery had a few, covering the main gates, the parking lot, the maintenance building. I pulled up the footage from overnight. My shift. The Hartwell Mausoleum wasn't in view, but I could see myself. Walking my rounds, checking gates. Normal. Routine. And then, around 2:30 a.m., when I was in the old section, when I was at the mausoleum, I saw something else on the cameras. Figures, walking through the cemetery. Dozens of them, moving between the graves, congregating, meeting, like a gathering, like a community, all dressed in old clothes, period clothes, 1800s, early 1900s, walking, talking, existing. But when I'd been out there, when I'd been walking those same paths, I'd seen no one. The cemetery had been empty, but the cameras showed crowds, showed the cemetery full, showed the dead walking among their graves. I quit the next day, told them family emergency, had to leave town, couldn't work nights anymore. They didn't push, seemed almost relieved, like they'd been expecting it, like every guard eventually quit, eventually saw something, eventually understood what Green Lawn really was at night. The dispatcher said something as I was leaving. Most people don't last 3 weeks. You did good. Saw more than most. What did that mean? Saw more than most? How much was there to see? How many of them were walking? How many graves were empty at night while their occupants roamed? How many mausoleums opened from the inside? How many of the 15,000 people buried in Green Lawn were still there during the day but somewhere else at night? I drive past the cemetery sometimes. During the day, it looks normal, peaceful, beautiful even. Families visiting, groundskeepers working, everything as it should be. But I know what happens after dark. What happens when the gates close, when the living leave, when the cemetery becomes theirs again, when the dead reclaim their space, when they walk and gather and sing and breathe and exist in ways the living aren't supposed to see, ways we're not supposed to know about. And sometimes, late at night, when I'm trying to sleep, I hear it. That singing. That woman's voice. The one from Margaret Allen's grave. The one from 1862. Still singing her lullaby. Still wandering. Still searching. And I wonder, was she singing to me? Was she trying to tell me something? Warn me? Welcome me? Or was she singing to something else? Something that walks among the graves? Something that opens doors? Something that leaves footprints? Something that watches the guards? Something that waits for mistakes? For someone to get too curious? For someone to stay too long? For someone to become permanent? I don't know if I'll ever go back. Don't know if I could. But part of me wonders, what happens to the guards who don't quit? Who keep working? Who accept what they see? Do they become part of it? Do they join the nightly gatherings? Do they eventually stop leaving when their shift ends? Do they become another figure walking between the graves? Another shape in the darkness? Another member of Green Lawn's true community? The one that exists after 10 p.m.? The one that disperses by 6 a.m.? The one that leaves no trace except disturbed earth and broken chains and footprints and dust? If you're fascinated by more bone-chilling accounts from people who've worked night shifts in places where the boundary between life and death grows thin, make sure to subscribe to Campfire Nightmares. And I need to ask you, have you ever been in a cemetery at night and felt like you weren't alone? Heard sounds that shouldn't be there? Seen movement that couldn't be explained? Share what you witnessed in the comments, because I think Green Lawn isn't unique. I think there are cemeteries everywhere where the dead don't rest. where they walk, where they live a second life, where they wait for the living to leave so they can exist again, so they can remember what it was like, so they can gather with others who understand, others who remember, others who refuse to stay buried.